welcome back to Bit by Bit for another coffee break video. I'm Jess, and this is Janet.
Hey guys.
And today we're going to be talking about our favorite flawed games. And flawed can mean a lot of different things. It's sort of something we were discussing before the video. And for me, when I think of a flawed game, I sort of think of things that like really could be anything. Just minor glitches to like controls not working as well as you want to. Even like storyline or like plot flaws, although honestly I feel like I have a harder time liking games with plot flaws, just because I am that annoying person who comes out of the movie and I'm like, but they never like resolve the part where he said this at the beginning of the movie and everyone hates me, so it's fine. It's okay because I normally go with my mom and she's like that too. So sad story of the day. Jess can only enjoy movies with her mother. Anyway,
Janelle's cool.
Yeah, no, she's really great. She likes our stuff on social media. She's the best. She watches a lot of our videos. She'll see this as well. Hi, Mom. Anyway, so my first favorite flawed game for me that immediately comes to mind is one of my games that I've recently reclaimed from my house for the GameCube. It's SSX Tricky, and it's a snowboarding like sim, and it's super great. It's like an awesome game and like really weird and fun and funny and kind of quirky, and like you can get all dressed up in different outfits if you unlock them, have different snowboards and stuff, and the maps are really cool. You can shove people over, like you just jump up in the air and like just slap them in the face and they fall over. It's great. I know you're not allowed to do that in like real snowboarding, but I wish you could. I played this game a lot when I was like in the 8 to 12 range, I think. That could be a little off, I don't know. And I've been replaying it recently, and I was, going through the motions. I have a lot of it sort of still logged, I guess, the maps and whatever. So I was going through and playing and remembering what shortcuts there were and how to do whatever. And then I realized something that I remembered from when I was a kid that I used to do. It's a little broken, when there's certain parts where if you go through like a part of the map that you're not supposed to, it can be a shortcut, so you like jump through a thing and everyone else just keep going on the track and you're like, I'm just going to cut through here. And that can work sometimes, but there's other times where like, and I don't know why they have this button. It's actually really annoying, but it's like, on the GameCube, there's the X button and the Y button and they're above the A button. One of them is to like hold your board, like you're up in the air and you hold your board so you can do a trick. And the other one of them is like a reset button. So if you're like halfway down a slope, it'll reset you to somewhere else.
Okay.
But I know it's a little weird and I don't like that it has that in the first place because I'm like, why would I need this? But I guess they're worried that you could get like stuck somewhere or glitched somewhere and they want you to be able to like, nope, pop me back to the track. But in certain areas, if you go if you get a certain amount into an area you're not supposed to be in, and if you push that button, it'll restart you not back from where you started, but way further down the track than everyone else. So I don't even have to go through the whole shortcut. I just have to get through part of the shortcut and push the button, and I'm like way ahead of everyone.
Oh, okay.
Which I try not to do now that I'm an adult. I'm like, no, I'm not going to do it. But I did it on accident once, and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot you could do that. And I used to do that all the time. And so for me, that's kind of that's like on the lower end of flaws for a flawed game, because I think on the whole, SSX Tricky is like just like put it on one of my top games of all time. But when it can be that easily beaten, when you're not really supposed to be able to do that, I think that's a little bit of a flaw. But I did also want an excuse to bring up this game because I love this game, and I've only talked about this game on one other video, and the video audio didn't record, and so we never got to use it. So I've been playing it again recently, so everyone should just know SSX Tricky is really good, and you can also cheat.
I know. I want to play that on the GameCube as well because I never played that, but I like there's not really a good word for this genre, but like the kind of unrealistic sports sims, like those are some of my favorites.
Oh yeah, the best.
Yeah, I think that's like a lot of people. Or like NBA Street. Yeah, NFL Street. Yeah, those are all really good. Cool. So I feel like even though we prepped for this, I'm like, what are my flawed games? I can't really. I'm having a hard time kind of coming up with good go-to ones, but I think one that comes to mind, and I don't know if this would really count as a flaw because I think, it's just such an old game that it's just like how it is.
Inherent.
Yeah, so I'm like not even, it's like pure, it's just an old game. It's like, well, I don't know. But to me, like Cruising USA is the one that I think of.
Is that the one with the girls?
Yeah.
That dance?
Yeah. I guess that's a flaw. Sexism is the ultimate
flaw. Yeah.
The ultimate flaw in the industry. But
if that were the case, almost every game would be flawed. Yeah. So.
Our favorite sexist games. That's horrible.
Oh, actually.
Oh my god. Yeah, but that's not why I think it's flawed. Even though it is not a good thing. It's not great. But it just doesn't play that well, you know. But then once again, it's just kind of old. There's probably a lot of games from that era, but like, yeah, it's just like a rough go. It's just kind of difficult to control. Basically, that's the only really thing that's wrong with it. But I love that game because in USA, it's super fun. And like, yeah, all the tracks are really interesting. You literally get to just like drive across the country. And the part with the women that Jess was referring to was like when is it the beginning of the race or because I don't know. Play this.
You know more than me because you played it. I only played it like once or twice.
I think it's like either at the beginning or the end. They have it's like
at the end. It's at the end.
Oh, it's like that weird thing they have in racing games. You see this a lot in arcade games. I guess this is its biggest flaw, maybe. But it has like these like women in bikinis, like very Fast and Furious type thing, and they'll be like, "All right, ready, set, go," or they'll say like, "Yeah, you won," and they'll like jump up and down and stuff. And it's weird. It's freaky because everything else is so much more like pixelated than the women. Like they like spent
they really spent their whole budget on
like rendering these women.
Down, right?
Yeah, and it almost
still looks
like
pretty bad. But
it almost looks like they're like I forgot the name for this genre of games, but there's like those games where they put in real life film clips into the game.
Yeah,
there's like a word for that genre. It almost looks like that. Like it's kind of trying to do that.
See, probably what happened was
it's weird.
Probably what happened was
probably the biggest flaw. It's weird.
I was reading this. I mean, maybe we could put a link to it in the video, but I was recently reading this series of like blog posts on Gama Sutra. Is that how you say it? Gama Sutra. They're kind of old. They came out a while ago. That's sort of like game design 101, you know, stuff. And one of them was about like concept, you know, like how like defining your concept and like really sticking to it, you know. And so like one of the examples that he gave was, oh, you know, like Susan says we should use this sort of battle format, and Tommy says we should use this sort of battle format. When we look at our concept and what our overall goal is, we realize that it doesn't make sense to use the one Susie suggested because, you know, it doesn't enhance our goal. Even if it's a cool battle system, it doesn't enhance like the overall thesis of the piece. If your goal is to, you know, to get to point A, then you're not going to take all these zigzags in between, you know, unless your goal is to have a game that's sort of like an open world RPG, then yes, you want a lot of, you know, points from A to Z. That's sort of the point he was making. And I'm going to say that for Cruis'n USA, that their overarching goal was to have women jumping up and down. And that was what, you know, that was the goal. And the people were like, well, you know, it's a racing sim, and so we should have, you know, this and that, and maybe we could add this feature, whatever. They're like, no, Jim. The goal is to have these scantily clad women jumping up and down at the end of the race. And he's like, yeah, no, I get it. But, like, what if we added... No, Jim. That's how I imagine this meeting going. So, in case anyone was wondering.
Yeah, sounds like a cool article. Yeah, I love Gama Sutra. But yeah, so that's a little weird. And I think it just kind of adds to its whole, like, this is another, like, rando, like... kind of jank racing game, but I love that game. It's so great. It also has this one track like pretty early on. I haven't gotten that far in the game because it's like an older game and a little bit harder because it hasn't aged quite super well. And also I'm not that good at racing games, so but it has like that one track that has like that weird music, which is also kind of sexy. Yeah. It's like it's really weird. It's like super sexual. It's like the most sexual thing I've ever heard in a game, and it's so strange. Yeah, so that's. Yeah, it's a weird place to be at. Yeah. What about you?
That's a good one. You know, and this is hard for me too. And I didn't think I was going to mention this, but now I am going to. I was actually chatting about this with Jenna's brother Edwin just before the video, and we were talking about what we were going to, you know, do our video on today. And I'm going to bring up Mass Effect for this briefly because. At first I was like, I'm not sure if I want to put that in my favorite flawed games because actually lately, as I've been playing and I beat Andromeda recently and whatever, I was like, I don't know if I want to put this in my favorites anymore, which is a little weird for me because as anyone who like has watched our videos knows or like listened to our podcast knows, I really love Mass Effect, and that was like one of my first favorite games. Well, Star Wars Knights of the Republic was, but you know, then BioWare continued down the line. I was like, oh, Mass Effect is like Star Wars Knights of the Republic, but without the Star Wars, you know, and And I think part of it is that I'm trying to decide, and maybe I have to go back and play the other games, so it's like a lot of effort. I'm trying to decide how flawed the first 3 games were versus like, because I guess I really enjoyed them back in high school. That was like 4 or 5 years ago, you know? And my like schema as a gamer has changed a lot since then, like the stuff I've been exposed to and like what I enjoy and like different things I've tried out. And so I can't tell if I was like had it built in my head as a certain way and that I was so used to the game playing the way it plays that when I replayed it even when I was older I was like, yeah, this is still great. And then when Andromeda came out and it was a whole new world, whole new plot, I was kind of like, you know, there's a lot of good stuff in the game, but there's also a lot of flaws that I'm like, that makes it a lot less compelling. I can't tell if that's new or if all the old games were like that. So that's one thing I would kind of put in here just briefly as like a favorite flawed games is like, obviously I've always loved Mass Effect, and I'm not like, when they come out with another Mass Effect game, which they will, I will play it, you know, and I'm going to be excited about it, but it could be partly just that the letdown from, you know, wanting a game to be really good.
Yeah, that sounds a lot like that Fry meme where he squints, you know?
Yeah,
like
not sure if... Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, not sure if Mass Effect Andromeda is not that good, or if the series has always had these, like, things that haven't been working quite well.
Yeah, I think that might be the case, but I also think it's because I appreciate games, like, in a more complex way now than I used to before. I was like, this is great, space, shooting things, aliens, romance.
I think for the most part, and that's what's so hard about like going back to play old games that you've played before, because you realize that like, oh, it's not exactly what I thought it was, or now that or also just playing more games makes you realize that like some things aren't quite as cool as you thought they were, like just because, you know, the more you broaden your schema, which if you guys don't know that term, it's like your general understanding of a subject, like the more you realize that like, oh, X actually isn't that, you know, special. It's like, actually, this is like every platformer in the history of platforming, you know?
Yeah.
On that note, my favorite flawed game, actually, I don't know why I didn't think of this immediately, and I'm going to get so much... I thought of it because you brought up Mass Effect, which is like such a beloved series. And so I, too, will drag a beloved series. The Uncharted games are my favorite flawed games.
I thought you don't even like them that much.
I don't, but I do. They're like... So, I have, like, a lot of feelings about Uncharted, and I actually recently wrote about the first Uncharted game, you know, bump the posts, but which we can put in the show notes. But I have such a sick relationship with Uncharted because... I'm going to try to make this as brief as possible. I'm like checking the time. I don't want to go too long on this. So to be as brief as possible... I got this collection of the Uncharted, you know, trilogy. I know there's 4 games, but the first 3 came in the, you know, the remastered Nathan Drake collection bundle, and I got it as a gift for Christmas because you know, it's one of the big things that people say that you should play on PS4 if you didn't already play it on PS3. It's like that, The Last of Us, BioShock, you know, the PS3 hits. Totally. The best things on your PS4 are also on PS3, but less good looking. So, that's just from what people have suggested. So anyway, so I started playing those, and to be as brief as possible, like they're not like I'm like almost done with 2, but just to speak purely on 1, because it's the only one I played all the way through. Like I started things off, and I ended up playing with my brother who lives with me. So it's just me and Edwin, and we end up sharing a save file on it, which is my new favorite thing to do ever since we did it with Resident Evil. Yeah, which you guys should also check out that video. So we talk about it. It's so great. Anyway, so I'll just watch him play, and we'll like pass back and forth, and we'll play like in big chunks of like an hour or 2 hours, or maybe sometimes more. And when we first started playing, I was like, this is awesome, especially because like I don't have a strong background in third-person shooters, especially realistic ones. Like I've played Jack and Ratchet and Clank, but they're not. I mean, they're technically they're more platformers than shooters. They're like platformers with shooting aspects. So, you know, Uncharted action adventure platformer is the genre. So like, you know, you're doing some third-person shooting, you're doing a little bit of platforming, some very light puzzle solving, and that's basically the game. And people have compared it to Tomb Raider. So for those who you know, maybe haven't played it, so that's what the game is. And I was like really into it at first because I'm like, this is great. Like, you know, we're on this adventure. Like Sully's hilarious and like really, you know, inappropriate and always making all these lewd sexual comments. And like Nathan Drake's hot and we're like in the jungle, you know. And it's great. You know, you got your guns. You can do some headshots. You know, I wasn't used to shooting a whole lot, but I had recently been playing Gears. So even though I sucked at Gears, Ultimate Edition, the skill is transferred over, and then I'm like, now that this isn't a real shooter, now I can really hone my craft, you know? So it was great, and I was having a fun time, and it looks so good. It's a very good looking game. And then like about 3 or 4 hours in of like a maybe 8-hour campaign or 7-hour campaign or so, about 2/3 in, like something inside of us just snapped in half. So what happened is, like, to me, like, my main criticism, like, once again, to be as brief as possible, my main criticism of Uncharted 1 is that, like, it gets, after a while, you've seen everything there is to see in the game in terms of gameplay.
Yeah.
And you're just doing it over and over and over.
I hate stuff like that.
And then you're like, God, this is awful. Because, to be real, like, even when I was enjoying it, it's still, like, kind of basic, you know? It's like, that's why it's, like, my favorite flawed game, because, like, oh, this is enjoyable, but also you're like, God, this is, like, not very good. And I know that's such an unpopular opinion because people love that franchise. And if you love it, that's fine. And I'd like to hear, you know, why in some senses. But also, like, when's the last time you played it? Because if you loved it, but you haven't played it since it came out, which is, I think it came out in 03 or 04, it might not be that, it's not that good, dude. It's not very good. Because I just played it, and I can tell you, like, I can tell you why it's not that good. Like, I'm enjoying some parts of it, and I think, you know, if you're curious, it's worth checking out. But, like, yeah, it just gets old. So, like, but the reason I say it's my favorite flawed game is because, like, and I'm trying to figure out for myself why this happened. Maybe it's because I'm playing with my brother. Maybe it's because I already own the discs. But, like, I just need to see this through. And I'm not normally one of those people. Like, if a movie sucks, I don't need to see the other movies of it.
Right.
You know, if a game sucks, I don't need to, you know, I don't need to check out ReCore 2. I might, because I'm hoping they do, you know, fix the things I didn't like about ReCore 1.
Right, yeah.
But I'm not like, if ReCore 2 comes out, I'm going to play. You know, it's not something I'm, like, compelled to do. For Uncharted, there's just something about it. Something about, like, and it's not even that I'm having, like, a good time. It's just, like, I don't know. I have no idea what this is. I don't know if you guys have ever felt this or if you've ever felt this, Jess, but, like, I'm just, like, we have to finish it.
No, totally. And that's...
It's awful.
And that's one of the reasons why I made my New Year's resolution. For those of you who hadn't watched some of our other videos where I've mentioned this before, it was to, like, beat every game I start in 2017. So if I started in 2017, before 2018, I have to finish the game.
How's that one horror game going?
I'm dropping it till later. I'm not touching it for a while. It's not good.
December's gonna be a hell of a month.
It really is. December, I'm gonna be like, okay, I'm taking all my vacation days. You know. Like,
oh my gosh.
So it's gonna be pretty bad. But that's one of the reasons, because sometimes I feel compelled to finish something, and a lot of times it's because I don't finish it because it stops interesting me.
Yeah.
You know, and that happens a lot. I feel like Uncharted is not the only game that's like that. And I can't vouch for that because I haven't played it, but I believe you because I've seen it in everything else. You know, like, a lot of games are like, okay, we have our 3 things you can do. Now do them over and over again in a very ununique combination.
Yeah, and all the environments in Uncharted 1 look the same.
Right, and so it's like...
Uncharted 2, they kind of fixed that a little
And that's
bit,
kind of like, you know, and I get it, and I play games like that, and they're enjoyable, but, like, a lot of times I'm like, well, I've been doing the same thing a million times. I might as well do it, you know, 200 more times so I can finish the game and, like, have it off your plate. And it's actually, like, such a relief to have something off your plate. But at the same time, it's sort of like even when I'm, you know, I'm stuffing at work. I mentioned today I was stuffing little name cards in these plastic folders for an event that we had, and we did like 800 of them. And it's like the first few actually kind of fun. I'm like, yeah, I've got something to do. I'm not bored. It's very easy. I'm just doing this thing. And then eventually it's like, I want to finish it. And it's not like I want to stop doing it. I want to finish stuffing all the things. Like, it's not like, oh, I see those last 100 or last 200. I'm like, I can't do it. I don't want to look at them. I'm like, no, I want to finish it, even though it's ceased to be at all, like, okay, to be stuffing all these name tags. So it's like my mundane analogy of the day. But I mean, one game that I think of that sort of has to do with, I guess, like, comparisons to the later ones. When you think of like, oh, well, you know, this game was, if we look at how, even when I think of, like, Mass Effect versus Dragon Age, I guess one of the reasons I wanted Mass Effect to be good is because I really like Dragon Age Inquisition, and I think Dragon Age is killing it compared to Mass Effect, to be honest. Another game that I find it's harder to enjoy now that there's better games out is Morrowind, which is Elder Scrolls 3. Elder Scrolls 5 is Skyrim, you know, and Skyrim's really good. Obviously, and it's great, but where I really hit my stride as a gamer when I was a kid was with Morrowind. And
yeah, it's a lot of people.
It's a horrible game. I love it though. Like, I love it, and I wish I could still play it. I can't. You can't play it after you've played Skyrim, because you go on there and you're like, God, what's that little block?
Well, yeah, the textures don't.
You know? But also, there's so many glitches. Like,
yeah, I heard there's a lot of glitches.
Oh my gosh. So like, I'm like, even as a child, like, you know that this isn't how it's supposed to be. Like, you're walking through the world, you're like, there's literally 12 cliff racers above me. There's these big birds, and they're really hard to kill and really annoying. I'm like, that can't be right. That can't be right, you know? And then you're walking around and you kill them all and you're like, I survived. This is amazing. And then you like sleep for a little bit, you know, like just like curl up in a ball on the side of this mountain with like no health to try to gain your health. And you wake up and there's 5 more cliff racers. And then you're like, why? Like, that's not right. That's not how the game was supposed to be. Somebody messed up the algorithm for like how many of these are supposed to spawn. Or maybe they did it as a sick joke. I don't know. But the cliff racers still come to my mind with like horrific things in my life. And that's a flaw, I think. But it's still, to me, like kind of a fond memory. It's like that episode of How I Met Your Mother. For anyone who hasn't watched, I'm just gonna briefly recap. I have a lot of analogies today. But you know that episode where they're like talking about quitting work, and they're like, yeah, but you know when you're gonna like when she's gonna break up with Scooby, and like Marshall's thinking about, or he like reflects back on when he quit his job at GMB or wherever it was at the time, and it plays a song, you know, I will remember you.
The song that plays with the adopted puppies.
Yeah, and it does in black and white, and they're like replaying all these horrible moments, like, you know, like someone yelling at them, and they're just like looking at them like, oh yeah, you know,
graduation goggles.
Yeah. So I kind of have that with Morrowind, even though like obviously it's done and over with. It's been a long time. Sometimes I look back and I just think, it was such an amazing experience. No, it wasn't. I mean, but I loved it. I put so many hours of my life into it. But all those hours, I was like, why the hell is it like this? You know, when I was playing the game.
So is that one of your favorite flawed ones, Morrowind?
Yes, I love Morrowind. Morrowind's one of my favorite games of all time.
I think on that note, this one, see, because I don't have too many favorite flawed ones, because usually if it's like kind of like, well, I also don't have that big of a catalog of games, and I feel like a lot of times when they're like, I would love to put ReCore on there, but it just, I'm so upset over it. That's not my favorite flawed games. It's awful. Don't play it.
Enough to
it's just flawed. It's just a flawed game. But I think one of my favorite flawed games, just in the sense that like, it's kind of, to me, flawed also like can carry. Okay, so my definition of flawed game also involves like, if I were to recommend this game to someone, I'd have to like kind of give a little asterisk to it, like it's great, but the so it's like a but. Like, what game is like, oh, Morrowind's awesome, but it doesn't age very well.
It's another How I Met Your Mother.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, okay. It's the, which is the what was that? It was called it was like the glass shattering episode, but yeah, but it's a How I Met Your Mother thing, but it's also just kind of a life thing. Like, it's like, oh, like, you know, the what underscores it. So to me, a game I want to throw out for that is Life is Strange, only because it's not, I wouldn't say it's flawed.
Oh, it's totally flawed. Sorry, but it is.
Like, it isn't, but I mean, I'm bringing it up because I think it's one of my favorite flaws. So the reason I describe this as a flawed game, and then I guess you can talk about it because you both played this game, is that, like, it's so, like, so dramatic, very high school, very, very, Degrassi on some level, Degrassi. Which is also why Life is Strange is, like, so white, besides the fact that everyone is white, but they're, like, in a white area, so that's why it's white. They're, like, a private art school. I'm like, this is... my brother calls Life is Strange White is Strange, and when he said that, I laughed like so hard. But also, I was kind of like, oh, you don't, I have my controller, I'm like, you don't understand, like, you don't get it. But like, so Life is Strange was kind of my guilty pleasure game in the sense that I loved it. I think it's a great game. I recommend it to people, and I think it does some really interesting things, and like, it's just such an awesome game to me. But I will say it's flawed just because to me it's the dramatics of it, like the writing and it just has, like, those cringe cliche characters, you know? Like, I still recommend it, but it's, like, the reason it was a guilty pleasure is because, I don't know if this was your experience with Life is Strange, but for me, I'd be playing it in my room, and sometimes my brother would walk in, or maybe I live with my brother and his girlfriend, so, like, maybe, you know, someone would come by, or, like, check in on what I'm doing, or I'd explain the game to someone, or they'd see a scene, and you just feel a little embarrassed.
Yeah.
For playing it. It'll be like, you know, you're playing something, and it'll be like, it's like... Chloe, I'm trying to give too many things away, right? You know, I'm your stepfather, damn it, and this is my house. Fuck you, Dad. You know, I'm just gonna smoke some pot and like whatever, and then Max will be like, "That was hella crazy, dude. What?"
She'll say that was whack.
That
phrasing is way out of date.
Whoa, man, that's so whack. Chloe, I always have your back. You know this. And it's like in that unrealistic.
Yeah, she like.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
It's the same, Max. You left. I left but I never forgot about you. It's like what is happening right now? What is this? Can we go? Like, this is so bad.
Oh no!
And then Bright Eyes plays. It's like very,
Bright Eyes. Talk about it.
Or I love when because our Jess's roommate, our mutual friend Catherine, played a little like the first episode of Life is Strange, and she mentioned
her out too
much.
And
she mentioned the what is that? It's a song called, I think it's called All of You by, I forgot, I'm trying to pull up on my phone what the name of that song is. It's called All of You by something. It's the American Girl song, When All of You, it plays at the beginning of the episode 1.
Yeah.
And then, and Catherine was like, oh yeah, it's this, like white teen angst. And I'm like, I love that song. I literally do. I literally listen to that song. Not every day, but it's really close. Like, I'm gonna throw that out there.
Yeah.
I have the Life is Strange playlist on my phone. It's on Spotify if y'all are whack and interested. It's called Life is Strange soundtrack. It's called To All of You by Sid Matters. From the album Someday We Will Foresee Obstacles.
Oh my God.
So that's my favorite flawed game because it's very you can comment
just
on
like
that
a quick note of that, I totally agree, and I will say, just like to reiterate, like what exactly like that experience is like. It's very strange because I like the mechanics, right? And I thought they did so many good things with the mechanics. I was like, it's very interesting, and it was like narrative and like cool, and there was like different stuff you had to do, and I thought they did a good job, unlike Uncharted apparently, of like mixing up the mechanic. You know, like, oh, you get to the third episode, I was like, what? I didn't know I could do this, and then like let you do your thing.
It builds very well,
and I thought that was nice. And of course they had less, like there's only, it's like a pretty short game, so that's easier to do, but I was engaged most of the time with the mechanics, and I was interested in learning more about the plot and whatever, but I was like, can the characters like not be who they are? Because I don't want to be Max.
Yeah, they're just less...
I'm sorry, you're lame. And you're like, oh, I'm lame in my journal. I'm like, yes, you are lame. I'm sorry. And like, stop talking about it. Like, be a real person. And they were like, it was like impossible to really get engaged with them and care a lot about them because they were so fake. Like, not fake like when you think of, so-and-so is so fake. I mean, but like literally, I don't believe you exist.
They felt very like YA novel to me.
Oh, yeah.
Which like... my apologies to people who like YA,
novels, and there's some bad, classically
there are probably
bad
good ones, but like they're stereotypical YA novels, which is to say that like the stereotype of YA is that it's like overly simplistic, which is something I really push back against in the YA community, even though I'm not involved in that community, just because I think it has like that implication that like teenagers can't handle like good writing. It's like it's kind of weird, kind of like that chick lit thing too. That's like also it's like these genres that are like, it's cool they exist because they're like affirming, but also like if they're too cliche, it kind of like has negative messages about like the audience it's trying to reach almost.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, and I would definitely agree that, and this is sort of geared at
it's like a YA video game.
It's a YA video game. It's a YA video game. And much like the YA novels, I enjoy a lot of the writing and ultimately find the characters and plot too simplistic and unbelievable.
I thought and this is once again without us kind of giving too much away. Maybe we should one day just do like a spoiler video where we just kind of can talk about Life is Strange, even though it's such an old game, but I still really recommend it and I like it a lot because of what you said. I thought the plot was really interesting, just like the storyline itself, like the bare bones of it. Like if we were to put a timeline,
more grit a little bit almost.
Yeah,
I wanted things to be a little more, a little more like
it's more
Kurt Vonnegut, a little less like Suzanne Collins. I don't know.
Even I don't know. Well, I know of Kurt Vonnegut. I haven't really actually read his books, and I don't. Who'd you name? Susan what?
Suzanne Collins.
Suzanne Collins. Even just the names, though. Even if you didn't know anything, just the names.
Kurt Vonnegut.
Suzanne Collins.
No, actually, Suzanne Collins, as far as YA authors go, isn't that bad. Hunger Games is fine. Actually, I'd prefer it be a little more Hunger Games than whatever the heck it is currently.
Yeah. So anyway, but that's so to reiterate the flaw. It's just like the characters are just very archetypal. It's like Max is like shy, awkward, kind of like garbagey, but not garbage enough to be interesting. Just kind of like
yeah, exactly.
She's recyclable trash. Like it's like you're not really trash because I can reuse this water bottle, if I put it in the blue bin. But it's not really like a good person. But
then there's also the one that annoyed me the most was Kate, because she's like, I hate when they do this. They always have this. They have the stereotypical
she's a religious girl,
Christian girl,
yeah,
who's sort of shy and a little preachy, and and like. Everyone's always kind of picking on her, and she's kind of, really polite and like wears her hair colors, and I'm like, come on, it's so annoying to me.
Yeah, when you believe in God, you like are really quiet all of a sudden. It's so weird. Or they had like the bitchy girl who is she's of course she's preppy and rich, Victoria. But
she
also
like literally sticks her nose up.
But also isn't everyone rich at this rich ass school?
I know, right?
Max is like, oh, I'm not really rich, I got a scholarship. Okay, yeah, but does that pay for everything though, Max? Does it? I don't know. I don't know. So. And how'd you get a scholarship with your crappy art? I don't know. Just lots of questions.
I know, you're not good.
Chloe is the cliche girl that, like, went alt because, like, she's rebelling against everything. So, of course, her hair has to be blue. She has to have tattoos. The first time we see her, she's in, like, a violent, intense situation that involves drugs. You know, it's like, okay, you know, and then, the writing is just, like, the things they say, the way they speak with, like, all the hellas and the whack and
hella, I was like, oh my god.
Didn't she say awesome sauce or something?
Awesome sauce.
Amazeballs. Didn't she amazeballs?
She said amazeballs and awesome sauce. I'm like, those are both straight out of 6th grade, man. She was like, that's not happening anymore.
Awesome sauce. God, I love these waffles. You know, it's like, what? What's wrong?
These waffles?
You know, it's like so weird.
There's a lot of moments like that where I was just like, ugh, you know, and you don't want that again.
Bad.
That's the flaw. Mechanics and the like premise, super interesting. Mm-hmm. I just wish it had been better.
Still worth playing, but definitely like
play it and cringe.
You got to put an asterisk on that one. It's like okay.
So anyway, so we really went in on like Strange, and I feel a little bad because I do like the game. But
we talked about it a couple of times in different videos. For our darkest moments in gaming, that was in there. A couple other times.
Dark.
It's
not as dark as I want it to be. It's okay. Anyway.
No, we do need to do a spoiler podcast and video on that. But before we close out, are there any other quick flawed games you want to give a shout out to? How do you feel about Gone Home? Because it's also like narrative.
I like Gone Home. I think it's worth playing. It's not something I would replay. I know we played it with the commentary.
So good.
I know, and I'll do that eventually. Yeah. I think it's fine. I've recently played a game that I wrote about on my blog, so I should remember the name of it. I don't remember. We can put it in the description, but it's basically you're this like artist who's kind of murdery, and it's very Gone Home-esque in the playstyle, but it's just like so much worse. And I'm like, that weird. Really points out how I guess well done Gone Home is in some ways. I think it's pretty decent. Do you have any last minute ones?
I don't, but I guess so the reason I brought up Gone Home is because I know it was one that you weren't like in love with. Like I loved it.
Fine.
And you're like, oh, it's good. So I just want to see if you thought it had any of those. I think the reason Gone Home
is interesting to me.
I think the reason Gone Home avoids the narrative cliche flawed thing is one, besides the fact that like its content is inherently like less shown in video games. I don't want to spoil anything about like the plot and stuff. So besides that fact, I think even when it was like maybe a little cheesy or maybe a little cliche. Well, one, like cliches are cliches for a reason. We've all had like some of these cliche moments in high school have actually happened to us.
Sure.
And then the other thing is, yes, they all happen.
All at once.
They all happen in Life is Strange. All of them happen. Except for like, no, I think at one point someone has a pregnancy scare. Like, I don't know if you see the thing. Yeah, so everything happens. It's in the garbage,
I totally checked if they were pregnant too in the game. Yeah, I was like, I have to know. Yeah.
But the nice thing about Gone Home is since even though it's narrative driven and is a little like a little cheesy sometimes, like it's the narrative pieces are like sparsed out and like short enough that like you can. It doesn't oversaturate it.
It leaves a lot to the imagination.
Yeah,
too.
like it's like
there's a lot of blanks, and that lets you fill it in with your apparently more creative mind than whoever made Life is Strange.
And there's more going on than just like the core narrative, which is like finding out, like learning about your little sister and how her life's going. It's also like got stuff about your dad and stuff about your mom, and like there's other things happening. It's
actually really good.
Yeah,
I mean, so I guess we can end off the video with a game that's actually good. It's not flawed. We like it. Gone Home.
Yeah,
check it out. Also check us out on social media.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get it right this time.
That transition.
We are. Thank you. We are on Twitter at Bit by Bit Gaming. Mm-hmm. We are on Instagram at Bit by Bit Gaming.
Okay.
We are on Facebook at Bit by Bit Gamers.
Yep.
And we also have a Pinterest page now, don't we, Janet?
Yes, we do. And our Pinterest page, I'm gonna grab my phone just to make sure. I believe is also Pinterest.com/bit-by-bit gaming. I believe it's bit-by-bit gaming as well.
Yeah, bit-by-bit gaming is our usual one. I just think it wasn't available for Facebook.
Yeah, It wasn't available for Facebook.
Yeah,
but I can double check. Maybe I can change it. But yeah, I think that's what it is. I can't see it on the app, but I'm
just
almost
look
positive.
Up Bit-by-Bit on Pinterest. It's also on our other social media.
Yeah, it's on. I just made a YouTube button for it for Pinterest, so that's on there too.
Check us out on our podcast. We are now available on Stitch and at iTunes as well. And thank you guys so much for watching the show. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.